I'll be honest, the OnePlus 3 was never a phone that was on my radar, and the only reason why was in the past OnePlus used an invite system in order to purchase their phones. This was something I've never cared for, so I've always passed on it. But for this iteration, they've ditched that system and now you can buy one straight from their website, which unfortunately I only found out about today. I put an order in, but it looks like it won't be delivering to me until the 27th of this month, that's June, but that's okay. No invitation system to be a part of, no wait list to sign up for. I just went straight to the site, paid the $400, and now I wait. But in the meantime, let's talk about what $400 gets you. The OnePlus 3 sports a 5.5-inch 1080p Super AMOLED display using Gorilla Glass 4. Inside, you're looking at a Snapdragon 820 processor and Adreno 530 GPU. This is the same processor and GPU combination inside the latest flagship phones today, like the HTC 10, LG G5, and Samsung Galaxy S7. On top of that, you also get 6 gigs of RAM, which is more than the 4 gigs included in the more expensive flagships I just mentioned. A 16 megapixel rear camera with an f2 aperture, OIS and phase detection autofocus, an 8 megapixel front facing camera, a 3000 mAh battery using fast battery charging technology which claims a 0 to 63% charge in 30 minutes, a front fingerprint reader, USB Type-C, and 64 gigs of internal storage. Again, more than the 32 gigs that you start off with other flagship phones in these specs. The OnePlus 3 is made of a metal aluminum unibody design. Looks like there were no shortcuts made when building this phone, even though the price tag is much lower than the competitors, but I won't know for sure until I get my hands on it. I love that the OnePlus 3 comes with something they're calling an alert slider. It's similar to the toggle switch on an iPhone to either silence it or turn all notifications on. I was actually wondering when a manufacturer other than Apple would bring something like this out. I've always liked it on my iPhone, but because Android has another option called priority, it adds another notch to the slider so that if you're in the setting, you'll only get notifications from what you prioritize. On the bottom, you have your USB Type-C port and your 3.5mm headphone jack, which is what I always like to have at the bottom. The speaker's down there too, and like all my other videos, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'd always appreciate a front-facing speaker, but we'll have to see how well this one sounds. As far as software goes, the OnePlus 3 runs Android Marshmallow 6.0.1, but uses their Oxygen OS software to give it their own customized look and feel. From what I'm reading and what I'm seeing, it looks pretty clean and resembles a stock version of Android. Always a plus in my book. I put together this chart just so I can show you how much lower in price the OnePlus 3 is, but what it offers and doesn't offer against its competitors. Alright, I made this chart real quick, don't mind my handwriting, it's not the best, but I wanted to make this so I could compare the OnePlus 3 versus these 3 other smartphones, these flagship smartphones. The first thing I want to talk about here is the price. The S7 and G5, I pulled the prices off T-Mobile's website, so it could vary a little bit depending on the carrier, but for the S7, $680, the G5, $630, the HTC 10 unlocked from HTC's website for $699, and the OnePlus 3 for $399. I also have to note that the $399 is tax-free, so even though this shows $680, $630, and $699, these still have tax to pay on top of it, so you're talking about maybe a $300, even more than a $300 difference when it comes to these phones. As far as the display goes, for resolution, all 3 of these phones have a 1440p resolution, the OnePlus 3 has a 1080p. For the processor and the GPU, all 4 of these phones are using Qualcomm's newest Snapdragon 820 processor with the Adreno 530 GPU. When we're talking about RAM, the S7, the G5, and the HTC 10 all have 4 gigs, while the OnePlus 3 has 6 gigs of DDR4 RAM. As far as the camera goes, all 4 of these phones use OIS. The S7 and the HTC 10 both have 12 megapixel cameras, the S7 with a 1.7 aperture, the HTC 10 with a 1.8 aperture, sorry, I was running out of space there. The G5 and the OnePlus 3 both have 16 megapixel cameras, the G5 with a 1.8 aperture and the OnePlus 3 with a 2.0 aperture. Battery, the S7, HTC 10, and the OnePlus 3, all 3 of them have 3000 mAh non-removable batteries. The G5 has a 2800 mAh battery that is removable. Starting internal storage sizes, the S7, G5, and HTC 10 are all 32 gigs, while the OnePlus 3 is 64 gigs. As far as a micro SD card goes, the S7, G5, and HTC 10 all have a SD card, but the OnePlus 3 does not. But I have to note that for $400 and 64 gigs of internal storage, that is a lot of space. That is a great price. IP68 waterproof or water resistant, dust resistant, the S7 is the only one that has that rating. All 4 of these phones have a fingerprint reader, and as far as USB Type-C goes, the S7 does not have it, but the rest do. The G5, HTC 10, and OnePlus 3 all have USB Type-C. Did you guys notice my watch tan in the video? Jesus.